Welcome back to Balance Basketball Academy, everybody. And today we are talking about the most dominant team in the NBA right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder. And it's no secret for anybody who's been keeping track of the league that they are not only one of the best offensive teams in the league, but they are the best defensive team in the league. And not just in the league, but possibly one of the best defensive teams of all time based on their stats. We're going to take a look at three games. We're going to take a look at their game against the Lakers about a month back. We're going to take a look at their game, one of their NBA Cup games against the Timberwolves, and a game against the Suns. These are three teams that are pretty solid offensively, and Oklahoma City was able to win all three of these games. And how were they able to shut down the star players of each team? Let's take a look at that and break down one of the best defenses this game has ever seen. So this is the first possession of the Lakers and Oklahoma City game on the 12th. And right out the gate, we got a double on Luka. You're going to notice that this team makes it really difficult for the Lakers to be able to get a catch for their star players. Rui comes up to set the screen. Wallace stays really close to Luka. And Holmgren is just kind of playing safe, kind of the middle guy in case somebody back cuts or anything like that. Luka comes around, and now Hartenstein and Wallace are right into the double. Holmgren is guarding too. So he is guarding here, and he is guarding here. But the thing is that Luka's being pushed so far backwards that trying to make this pass is going to be a lot more difficult to do. So as this play continues, Wallace is playing safe at home. Hachimura is open on the outside, but Luka decides to skip it right inside. Holmgren recovers really well, and that's it right there. Mitchell basically just moves his feet immensely well against somebody who is so good side to side. Austin Reaves, as I broke down in my previous video, if you haven't seen that, check it out. It's a solid video, I think. Maybe to pat myself on the back there. But breaking down how Reaves is able to basically just get his way offensively. He does not get his way here. So he attacks. And Mitchell's primary goal here, he does not get the steal because he reaches. That's the key. He gets the steal because there's help side defense that is able to, assist him as he's going. But the reason why he's in such a good position to end up getting that tip and get that ball is because he's moving his feet. Watch him here. Moving his feet. Look at his feet. He's just staying chest to chest with Reaves that entire time, and it ends up in a dunk and points. It is not because he's constantly gambling and reaching. He realizes, if I gamble, especially against a player like a Luka, like an Austin Reaves, I'm going to end up losing pretty hard. If I can just stay in front, that is going to be worth so much more, because most of the moves that these guys throw at you are just fakes. And if you don't fall for them, or you don't fall for all the crosses and stuff, you're going to be in a really strong spot. We've talked about drop coverage on this channel before, and for those of you who are new, drop coverage is basically just the screener's defender on the switch dropping backwards to kind of give cushion for a drive, or give cushion for some sort of pull-up or something, or to allow the defender to come back around from being behind the screen. Drop coverage is typically a temporary defensive setting that players will go through to, give time for the primary defender to return and then everything to switch back to normal. It is a Band-Aid. The key is that when drop coverage is too low, it opens up shots off the pull-up for the screen, or for the person who's coming off the screen. And that tends to be like one of the reasons why Luka or somebody like Reaves is super dangerous off the screen and roll, is because that drop coverage becomes really low and they can just hit a three in your eye. You're not even worried about the drive anymore because they're such good shooters. Here's the screen. The drop coverage is right around the 3-point line. And that's partially because the screen is so high from Ayton. But a lot of times you'll see drop coverage that is closer to here-ish. When we were talking about LeBron and his career high points total, I think it was 61. A lot of it was because their drop coverage was so low that he could just hit open threes, and he was on a roll that day. When it comes to Reaves coming off of this, the drop coverage is not dropping back super far, and is able to put up a good contest fairly high up for drop. That is something that is a unique scouting report thing that the Oklahoma City Thunder probably attacked, where they recognize Austin Reaves is a really good three-point shooter. He's really good off the dribble. So we're not going to have our drop be super duper low. It could be higher, but it is low enough to deter him from the drive and high enough to make a three-pointer contested, which ends up in a miss. Luka's probably number one on the scouting report if you're sane. Wallace takes the first screen. Hartenstein comes up for the second, so Luka can't split because they're pretty tight to each other right here. Second screen comes up from Hachimura. Holmgren is the next guy to take it. Holmgren is not in drop. Holmgren is in a solid switch. He is on the three-point line. If Luka wants to shoot that shot, he can shoot that shot. But chances, I mean, he's right next to the logo, though, so it's like, okay, how many times is he actually going to pick that shot in the offense? Not many. Then from there, the switch out happens. You're going to see this. Oklahoma City is really good at rotating their switch, and I'm going to try and demonstrate that here. First switch. Second switch. And you can see that Wallace is floating for the double in case Luka decides to drive. Then, look at these two. Wallace and Hartenstein are trying to figure out where to go. Shea is coming down here to guard Ayton. AJ Mitchell is looking over just in case that this pass comes down here. He can double. Then that leaves Reeves out here. But they're trying to defend the paint first. Wallace decides to switch out under Rui. And from there, Hartenstein basically relieves Shea of his duties down here. So Hartenstein's comes down here. Now that they've officially completed the switch, he's out here. Shea's out on Laravia. Wallace stays out on Rui Hachimura. And look at right here. Holmgren is denying Luka as soon as that pass goes away. You're not going to be able to pass and pass back. You can't do that anymore because Holmgren is like, you're not getting the ball again. And we're taking the ball out of the primary best player's hands. Boom, there's that switch. Now Shea's out there and everybody's back on the players that they should be. Really beautiful stuff. And, you know, it's kind of hard to see if their mouths are moving or not, but the communication is just synchronous. It's so smooth. They know exactly where to go and what to do and pick up the man and make sure that they are staying on the primary threats on the floor. Look at the score right now. Right now the Lakers are down by 11 points, and they have not been able to get much going offensively. And this is what happens when you start out with really tight, really focused defense, is players will start to get desperate. They start taking worse and worse shots because they're getting more and more desperate to make up the gap that has been created by the solid defense. And that's what Luka does right here. He tries to play hero ball. He's against Alex Caruso. So he kind of gets this, like, screen, right? It's a cut that turns into a screen. Caruso's behind him. Jalen Williams is up. And Luka's like, I can hit the step back right here. But the thing is that Caruso recovers really well. Look at him. He goes from being at his side to all the way back in front of Luka, like within a second. And that's a contested three. We got 16 on the shot clock. And that's the shot that he settles for right off the gate. Not a great shot, and it's because he has been able to get nothing going. He's like, if I can just shoot it quicker than the defense, then I can at least get an attempt off, whereas everything else has just been so difficult. This is why defense matters. It can create a very a downward spiral for the other team if you start out really strong. Okay, here's the screen. The screen's too high, so Mitchell's able to get around. Second screen, drop coverage is high, so the shot is not really there. Great stuff from Jalen Williams. In the drive, now look at all these bodies in the paint. They are so focused on clogging the paint. Even though the Lakers are a much stronger three-point shooting team than they have been in the past, they still want to drive, and the Lakers still are one of the highest teams in free throws. So they're looking to drive. They're looking to get that. If we can just deter those shots, me saying we as OKC, then this gets tougher. So you got, AJ Mitchell, or no, that's Williams. Williams on Reeves, Caruso, and then one more right here. 3 people all around, right? You have Smart open in the corner. That's fair. But Caruso's really good at closing out. So honestly, that wouldn't even be that open of a shot. And then it gets passed out to Doncic. Look at this closeout. Beautiful closeout. And here's the thing. Caruso knows I can close out too hard on Luka. And I have all these bodies in the paint that are going to make his life really hard. So it doesn't really matter if I close out too hard and he drives by me, because now I got these guys. Look at this straight up defense. Beautiful right there. The only mistake they make is they don't end up getting the rebound. If they got the rebound, this would be a really excellent possession of defense. But Caruso is aware I can close it really hard because the paint is so clogged to prevent Luka from getting an easy one. And these guys are so disciplined that it's typically going to be a really solid shot. This is just a hustle play. Shai is a really solid defender. I think he gets a lot of hype for his offense and how dominant he is just offensively, and that's great. But defensively, he's just working hard. This is a decent post up, you know, on the outset right here. You got Rui and Shai here. Shai just works really hard to get around Rui because Rui doesn't quite hold the seal. Uses his length, gets a tip. And that's the thing about OKC is they work together as a defensive unit. It is not one player getting all the tips and steals. It's one guy making somebody else's life hard, and then somebody else comes over to help, gets a tip, somebody else gets a steal. It's somebody denies this pass, then somebody else makes a bad pass, and there gets a tip, and then somebody gets a steal. Like, it's typically 2 or 3 players working all at once to make an offensive flip happen. Not one guy getting this crazy block where he grabs it out of the air. No, it's a collective thing. And that's what defense always is, but it is especially embodied by the way that OKC plays. Boom. Okay, so we'll look at this real quick. Oklahoma City is trying to force the ball out of the primary ball handler's hands, being Luka or Reeves, people who can pass, shoot, do all the things really well on the offensive side of the floor, and pushing it to a player who is less offensively dexterous. Jackson Hayes. No hate to Jackson Hayes. I actually like him quite a bit. But trying to make him be the point guard and make the plays on the floor is exactly what OKC wants. He gets past the ball in the middle of the floor. He gets swarmed. Now it's on him to be able to make the offense continue to flow. And that's a lot to ask from a big man who is typically a lob threat. And he exposes the ball and he gets it stolen because of that double. That is, if you're OKC, your job is force the ball into the hands of somebody who is less dangerous than Luka. That's exactly what they do. Let's look at the next clip. So here's that double screen action again. Hayes is on the roll. He is the right option to pass to, but the help side crashes so hard and they come in so furiously that it forces him to make a play again. He makes a bad pass to Vanderbilt, and on top of that, let me get to this real quick, then that ends up being a turnover. On top of that, let's take a look at what his options are, right? Okay, so he's 3-point options right now. This is just the rotation the Lakers have on the floor at the end of the third, is Jared Vanderbilt and LaRavia. LaRavia is not a great 3-point shooter, but he's a lot better than Vando is. Vando, unless he's wide open, will not shoot a 3 because he will typically miss it, and he knows that. Then you have Dalton Connect and Luka up at the top of the key. Great, but those guys are kind of out of the play. This is exactly what OKC wants. Blitz that big man, make him make a really laser great pass outside to somebody who's not a particularly good shooter. And that's exactly what happens. He makes the easy pass, or he makes the most visible pass right out there, and he makes a bad pass. If that was a bullet right into the pocket for Vando, maybe he shoots that 3. But the rotation from Jalen Williams is really solid, so it ends up just being kind of a nothing burger, and then it ends up being a turnover. If that pass had come from Luka or from Austin Reeves, or even from somebody like Marcus Smart, it probably would have been right in the pocket. But Hayes is not used to all those people coming at him and blitzing him like that. He's not used to being the playmaker, and this is an uncomfortable spot for him that the defense is specifically targeting him for. I apologize for this floor ahead of time, guys, but this is one of the NBA Cup's floors. Try your best to squint and figure out what's going on, and I will explain it as we go. Let's get into the Timberwolves game. The primary person that OKC is looking to target in this game is obviously Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has been quite an interesting player this season because he's been great this season. He's been great. So what do you got to do? You got to keep this guy from being a scoring threat. He's going to see 2. That is just what OKC has decided to do. Shai's going to come over. Wallace is going to push him middle. Okay, cool. He keeps his dribble. Great. Good job, Edwards. Way to not just pass it out to DiVincenzo for no particular reason. He attacks the other direction after the screen. Now Holmgren is coming up, and he's seeing too. Holmgren is very versatile. He can switch from bigs to smalls really easy because he's pretty athletic. He bites on that pump fake, knowing that, you know, Edwards can step back into that three. And then Wallace comes up, Hartenstein comes up. Boom, right here, and boom, right here. And you have Holmgren coming that way. Now Gobert comes to cut to the dunker spot on the backside. I know you can't see that. Let me do it on the blue. There, right? Here's the thing. I'd rather have the ball in Gobert's hands and have him make a really contested shot and then try and shoot free throws, which he goes 1 of 2 for these free throws, by the way, when he gets fouled on this play. Then have Anthony Edwards come in, get rhythm to start the game, and dunk it on me. Then there's the pass. Contested. That's something I can live with if I'm a defense. Carson Wallace is really good at defense. Newsflash. Crazy stuff, I know. Carson is defending Anthony Edwards up here. He is guarding Anthony Edwards so close that he's basically making the screen unusable. And Anthony Edwards is not doing himself any favors by not pushing Wallace into the screen properly. Normally, he doesn't have to fight this hard to get a screen to work, but he does today. And that's because Wallace is just putting in a lot of extra effort, guarding him way up, making his job difficult. You know, he can't just dribble up and make plays. He's making it difficult from the onset. You have to put out so much extra energy just to run the play. It's going to wear on you, and they're starting out really early by doing this. He stays tight. He's able to close the gap in the screen, get his foot over Gobert's, and keep the screen from being usable. Gobert goes the other way, or excuse me, goes the same way. Wallace still bumps that screen, stays up, and keeps his hands active. Now Hartenstein is shading into a double. And from there, Edwards has to pass the ball out. This is really solid. If Edwards basically backed down his player and then ran him off the screen, then he might actually get some solid shoulder-to-hip contact, get that guy rubbed off the screen. But because Wallace is playing so hard and playing so well, he's actually just keeping himself in the picture and making the screen unusable from the early onset. And that's really cool to see. That's just effort. That's effort defensively. And that's just somebody who cares about his defensive assignment. Boom, right? Here comes the screen. This time, Edwards is able to run his man off of the screen, but Hartenstein for the drop coverage is right there. He is ready for the contest. He knows exactly what Edwards' tendency is, and he's in the space of the shooter fairly quick because he's not just sitting in the paint waiting for Edwards to drive. He knows if Edwards drives by me, I have 3 other guys who are going to be able to close, and they're going to be able to make that layup harder for him. There's a reliance on his defensive unit to allow him to play such high drop coverage. This becomes a contested 3, and he misses it. Really solid stuff. If you're dealing with people who love to shoot off of the screen, you have to have a higher drop coverage. And OKC is fully aware of that, and then suddenly those open shots turn into contested ones. I want to point out Jalen Williams on this particular possession because I think he is killing it. And he's only the primary ball handler defender for the end of the possession, but I really want to bring to light how well he does right here, okay? So, there he is right here. He is this guy right here. He is guarding Julius Randle. That is the guy that he is guarding currently. Let's just watch him real quick and see what he does. Here comes the screen and roll. Super active feet. He's in that high drop. Boom. He's discouraging Anthony Edwards from shooting another contested 3 because he's already made that mistake once. Then he comes back over to Randle, right? He's seeing ball and man. He's seeing his guy and the ball, so he's able to help, or he's able to jump out on his man if the ball comes to him. He's sitting back in help because he realizes AJ Mitchell's able to get over the top. Great stuff. Then he's coming back out in case it goes to Randle, which it does. Then he's back again because Conley is not their main threat there. They want to keep Conley from that drive. Goes back to his man. Look at how active his feet are. Look at his hands. Wonderful contest. Make sure that the shooter has space. Missed shot on that contested jumper right there. Boom. Easy stuff. Jalen Williams just killing it on that possession. Very smart. Able to see ball and man. Able to move well. Great stuff. This is what makes up a really solid defensive unit. It's 5 guys who are willing to do this. Possession in and possession out. I just wanted to point that one out because I think it's emblematic of how well he plays. Alex Caruso has a very specific job. Anthony Edwards has to see a body as soon as he crosses half court. He cannot be allowed to get ahead of steam and be able to do whatever he wants, okay? The ball out. Anthony Edwards is never going to see open floor. He is always going to see a defender in front of him. That is the motto that OKC has for this game. All because Caruso just says, you're not going to catch the ball. I will deny you as high up as I want. You're not going to catch the basketball. And even if you cut back door, you're going to deal with 4 guys or 3 guys down low who are going to collapse, and they're going to make your layup one of the toughest you've ever shot. That is the deal. If you could keep the ball out of the best player's hands, they're a worse team for it. You win. And that's all you have to do. Great stuff from Caruso. This next play, when I was taking notes, literally made me so happy. Wallace is on Edwards right here, okay? Holmgren is playing safe at home. Dort comes up, switches directly on to Edwards. Then Holmgren takes the switch on to Gobert. That's Dort's man, not Holmgren's man. But Dort switches up, Wallace switches out onto McDaniels. And he does make the 3, sure. But that 3-man switch is so rapid and just interesting to watch that it's actually remarkable how this happens. Again, initially you would think the switch would be Edwards would be taken by Holmgren and McDaniels would be taken by Wallace. But no, Dort comes up, takes the primary ball handler, Holmgren stays home, Wallace stays into that double, but shading with McDaniels. That's a 3-man switch that happens instantaneously in a matter of like 2 seconds. Do you realize how good defensively you have to be able to do that with barely any communication? You have to be really, really freaking good. This is a remarkable little play. Yeah, it does end up in a 3 that's made, but this is what I think is emblematic of how solid OKC is. They're seamless. They're that good defensively that they can just make a 3-man switch and nobody's like freaking out or losing their head. They're just like bop, 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 boom. I'm sorry, guys. You have to look at this floor again. Here's the first Suns possession. Let's take a look. Yep, Dort. The denial on the handoff. Typically, when you're playing basketball, a handoff is actually a fairly easy play to execute. It doesn't get denied. It's not normally guarded super hard. It's normally a fairly safe play. And that's exactly what Booker expects to happen. But Dort stays right next to him the whole time, follows him all the way through the handoff, and basically just gets in the middle of it. Booker never even had the ball and takes it away from him. It's the same concept. Demoralize the star player in the first half, and you've basically won the game. Deny them the ball, make everything hard, make every dribble, every catch, every possession difficult, and yeah, it's going to be really hard to have them get going and drop 40 on you when their first half is like this. That's a triple team. He sees a triple team on this screen action right here. And people are like, oh, Booker doesn't deserve a triple team. No, he does. He's that guy. He can be that guy. And right here comes the screen, right? Boom. 3 different bodies. He's got, I think that's Wiggins behind, then Wallace and Shea all the way up top. Yeah, good luck shooting that. So the smart play is pass it out. Give it to somebody else. Give it to Grayson Allen. Yeah, I'd rather have Grayson Allen shoot the shot than Booker. OKC is basically saying, if you're going to shoot the basketball, you're going to have to take the most selfish, unadvisable shot possible, or you're going to pass it. And that's the kind of energy that OKC has right here. Here's that screen action. Triple team. Boom. Right? You got that shade coming over from... I can't tell who that is. And Dort is behind him, and Holmgren is up here, and I think that's Wallace. You gotta pass the ball, right? And they continue to follow him into the paint until basically he just has to throw the ball up and pray for somebody else to score. He's seeing a triple team because he's that kind of guy on the floor, and because the Suns are not the type of team that are going to be able to punish you quite as hard as the Lakers or the Timberwolves will. The Timberwolves have more people on their team that can be dangerous. The Lakers have more people on their team rather than just Luka, who can be dangerous. So if you're dealing with a team like the Suns, and you have one guy who kind of shines above the rest, you can afford a triple team without it harming your defense too much. I want you to watch Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on this play right here. So, ball comes off the rim. Boom. Booker is running down the floor right here. Shai, you can see his eyes. He has already identified Boom. There's Booker. That's my guy. Somebody is already on the ball right here. Boom. I'm going to guard Booker. Okay? He guards Booker right out the gate. He's not even looking at the ball. He's denying the ball, right? Booker has to work really hard to get this catch and barely gets it through on the handoff. Now he's being doubled by Williams and Shea. Seeing bodies. Now Gilgeous-Alexander's going to stay with Booker. Williams is going to rotate over. Joe's guarding down low. Rotates out. Contested 3. Beautiful. That is just everybody working. When you're working with a double team, you have to work twice as hard to rotate once the ball comes out of the double team player's hands, because now everybody has to refine their assignments. Doubled off of the screen. Doubled. Forced to pick up the ball. Now he's being denied by Gilgeous-Alexander at half court. He's facing contact at half court. He doesn't even have the ball. Wonderful denial. Shea's making his job really difficult, and then Caruso comes over. Like I talked about how they're a unit together. Shea did 80% of the work, and then Caruso was able to come in and finish that play. Devin Booker only has 21 points in this game, and I think that you can see just from this first quarter, there's a reason why. Everything is difficult for Devin Booker in this game. He is getting doubled and tripled and denied. There's no easy buckets, no easy plays for Booker. And because of that, OKC is able to kind of stomp in this game and really play to their strengths. So that's all I have for today, guys. I wanted to talk about how OKC basically can shut down your favorite player and there's nothing you can do about it. And how they're able to do it with some of the best players in the league, right? Luka, Reeves, Booker, Edwards, those guys are no joke. These are really, really awesome, spectacular wing players especially, and they've had a very difficult time playing against this OKC defense. I think everybody's had a difficult time, but these guys who are kind of above and beyond the rest of the league are still struggling because OKC has very specific game plans and very specific mannerisms of how they're able to attack those star players. And it works. It's made them one of the best defenses of all time, and it has definitely made them one of the best teams in the league. And frankly, I don't know, guys. They might win 70 games this season. Like, it's looking like it. If you want to see other topics, drop something down in the comments. Let me know what you want to see. I've been, watching a lot of games lately. I got some good stuff coming up for you guys. I'm very excited for kind of this Christmas time and the kind of videos that you guys will get from there. I've been working very hard, so be on the lookout for more stuff from me. Without further ado, guys, have a great rest of your day.